Okay, armed with that, let's start off here. I guess we're going to start with Rob Austin teaching us today how to do some of these cutting boards that we've just been looking at.
Okay, I was more or less going to start off by talking through what the process was before we actually do it. We're going to work together between Ron and Bob and myself. Bob is actually going to cut the boards, and the demo that's on YouTube, like I said, is by the Wood Whisperer. He does a great presentation of showing how to do it pretty much from start to finish, you know, except for all the glue up and all the parts like that. And I think you guys know how to put glue on. I'll just show you how I clamped it up on there. And using these as clamps was some of Bob's idea that we put around the shop. And we've got several of them there now for gluing up to like 4-foot boards and stuff to flatten them out for when you edge joint them. And talking about Ron the other day when he came over, I actually learned some different methods of doing things that we hadn't thought of when you're making this, how to make them thicker, how to make them longer. Making it longer wasn't a problem, you just make it longer, you know, but to make it thicker, I hadn't even thought about what makes it the thickness it is. You know, we ended up with, you know, we started off with about a 8-quarter board that we got from Hardwoods Incorporated and Swanee Lumber. You know, we've got, actually went out and bought $450 worth of wood. You know, we'll probably won't sell any of these or anything, so, you know, I'll be in a hole for that. But, you know, they make good Christmas presents, and that was really what my intention is. But you, if you start off with your 8-quarter boards, you want to plane it down to about 1 3/4, 1 5/8, somewhere around there. Just try and be consistent between all the different woods that you're going to use and get it as close as you can. On these itself, they're not perfect in between here, which, you know, was pointed out to me earlier. But it doesn't matter when you get done planing it or sanding it off, you're going to have it on there. You know, we were kind of cheating when it was off a little bit, and I said, see, it works perfect. Anyway, we tried several different types of wood, and it really didn't make much difference between one and another. I guess if you're using one wood that's real soft and one that's soft or hard, maybe when you're cutting you might make slices up to certain points and not the other, but I don't think it's going to make a difference. Because we're not going to have, you won't see that surface when you're done. The ones that I did over there with the Purple Heart, you've got the flat part of the wood instead of the end grain. So whenever you make a mark with a knife, it's going to be there forever. You know, unless you're going to sand it off each time and redo it.
When Rob and I were talking about it, the sentence I use is end grain is more forgiving because it heals, which is why butcher blocks are made of end grain. And if you just picture taking a pocket knife and jamming it into the end of a 2x4, pull the pocket knife back out. You can watch the cells, you know, like the bunch of straws example that they talk about when they teach you a turn, close it. When you make a beautiful board like Bob Black's, you'd kill anybody who cut a roast on it because they're cutting across the grain. But you can do a gorgeous design like Bob Black's example there, a heck of a lot easier than you can on an end grain, because end grain is more difficult to work with. So it's, you know, you're caught in between.
Well, I love the Purple Heart one that I did there, just a difference in colors.
It's beautiful.
But as soon as you slice it, that slice is going to be there forever. So I don't know if I'm going to do anything with it. That's the one thing about doing woodwork. Sometimes you just don't want to use it after you're done. And I've got a bunch of those laying around. If you're doing the projects that we're talking about doing here, you actually need, on each color of wood, or light or dark, or whichever type it is, you want to have at least 6 inches, because you're going to need 6 inches worth of wood that you cut off. So if you want to start off with about 7 inches wide, you know, that the lighter color one is about 7 inches in there. That way you can get your 6 inches worth of cuts out of it and put it on there. Because you'll need a total when you're done is 12 inches. So 6 inches of a light wood, 6 inches of a dark wood. Okay. The minimum you want to use is about 17 inches. And the reason you're doing that, or in length, you want to have about 17 inches, because when you cut it up in the process, you're going to cut it and you want to have an odd amount of colors, wood, odd amount of strips.
Say they're all.
Yeah. Because once you chop it up and turn it and everything, you want to have like a light, dark, you know, as contrasted as a geometric pattern. Okay. If you use an odd number, you're going to have a light and a light, If you do another one, you can do that. The only difference is it just won't match that way. So, and it doesn't make a difference. If people don't know you're trying to use a, you know, symmetric pattern, they're not going to see it either way.
There's a light in the dark.
Yeah. And both of them look great, so it doesn't make a difference. I actually kind of like the light and dark too, so it's just a matter of what you're going to do. If you're going to do an odd amount, you'll be the same, and even it's going to be the other way.
This is a function, my God, it's big. Yeah, it's a function of, that's what they were giving away for a song at Hardwood Zinc at Customer Appreciation Day. Well, hell, they came that length, why don't I just make them that length? And if it looks stupid, and it does, it looks out of scale, I can always cut it off. And the reason mine is thicker than his is I had it because it was the hardwood ink stuff. I can run it through the planer at that point, you know, before we flip the direction. And I learned my lesson because I got tired of making cheese boards.
I kind of like to have a cheese board, so I'm going to have Ron come over and show me how to mess it up when we get that done. So, okay.
Just throw it up crooked.
So really the first thing we're going to do is Bob is going to cut these boards for us that are on here so we can actually get some use of the saw stop. And we want to put them over there, that way we'll show you just what it looks like. On the pamphlet, did you pass those out yet?
No, not yet.
Okay. The pamphlet actually shows the different stages on here. You know, the first one is after it's cut up and it's just glued together as is. And that was a stage that's,
This one?
yeah. Yeah, once you cut it up, you got, you know, it starts off 2 1/4, different sizes over there, and then the other way for the other wood. And that'll be your initial glue up, so we're gonna chop that in a minute. I was surprised when we got done with that part, you know, it looked okay, but then the first time we cut into these other pieces and start turning around, you see it jump out at you of the different pattern and everything was really pretty neat.
It's miserable to try to explain, but it's now a long grain cutting board. Right, because the grain is running in this direction, which means, again, if you cut across it, it's going to leave a scar. The forgiving part, the self-healing, is here, the end grain. So it has to be converted from this to an end grain cutting board. Bob, do you want this?
He doesn't mind getting some.
Do you want this?
No.
All right, good, it says Ron on it anyway.
Yeah.
Does it? Oh.
Yeah, tell my wife.
Is that the sequence that needs to be cut?
2 1/4, 1 3/4, 1 1/4, and 3/4. Yep, 2 of each.
Okay.
1 of each type of wood.
Yep. One of the things that was kind of fun, I found this down at Hardwood Zinc. They had it, didn't know exactly know what it was, but gave me a pretty good bargain price on it. Except it was, you know, what was maybe 8 or 9 feet long and a little bit wider. So when I got over to Rob's shop, since I had helped load the thing, I pointed to Jim and Rob. I said, "You can go get that thing out of there. If you've ever tried to lift Jatoba, especially an 8-foot long piece of it, it's a chore."
Can you use any kind of wood for a cutting board?
Hardwood is going to be better. It's going to be, you know, when you go to score across the end grain, it'll heal better.
Don't use coat. Don't use coat.
No, there's no danger in it.
Yeah, you want to be a little bit cautious about some of the toxic woods, like
Cocobolo.
Cocobolo, prime example. You don't want to use that. That's probably going to be the wood that more people are going to be allergic to. Just ask Don Bedell.
for knife handles.
It's double the
Yeah.
price.
Hey Bob,
Yes, sir.
One stick
I
of.
was wondering that you're not supposed to burn walnut, like in the fireplace. Is it safe to eat off of?
I wouldn't see any reason why not. And as for burning, it burns
The
fine.
only thing you shouldn't do is you shouldn't use walnut sawdust in your garden like in your compost.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, walnut will actually sterilize the soil.
It inhibits growth, so.
Yeah.
So if you got a weedy area that you want to keep clean, you put it out there?
You know, one of my neighbors has several walnut trees in there, and he was noting that he said, you know what, nothing ever grows underneath the drip line of that thing.
That's right. Actually, if you got camellias in your yard, you could get the leaves that drop, and you could spread those too, because it inhibits growth.
Okay, the first thing I'm going to get set up to cut is a strip of this. Yeah, 2 1/4.
You got the other one?
Yeah.
I discovered a problem with using the gripper. The gripper is outstanding for most things. You move it over to one side, especially if you're doing a 2 1/4 cut. By the time you hit it, it works really good. But when I'm coming on the end of this and I'm past the blade, even pushing down on it, the back here would tick against the blade as I was coming out, even going straight, and it would just do a little bit of a tear out. Not on this portion, it was good on here, but when we do the next part where we turn it and cut it, we ended up with that problem. So you could probably use it for this perfect. You know, just on the other one, we want to do it with the other one.
Okay.
What I did on the other one, I used a push stick, went out, and when I got near past the cutting portion, I just pulled that part of the board up. And I'll show you what the difference was when we got to do that. Because each one, when I got done, I had little rip out parts on there from when it touched the blade in the back.
Well, I think we just popped that circuit breaker.
Sure beats a bang and the blade disappears.
Yeah.
No, it's not far.
Well, no.
Yeah, but now we can't make a clock.
I got a couple at home for you.
I think I stalled.
How much do we pay for that?
$12.
I wasn't paying attention. I got about 3 inches in.
I think it's just a little bit weak for that wood.
Must be
Yeah.
a 15-ounce circuit so weird.
Well, no, it's not tripping the breaker. It's stalling out.
If you had that 5-horse motor,
Yeah.
What's the horsepower on that?
gotta have your
1 3/4.
It isn't the cord.
Is that one of those Asian motors that pulls half the amps of a NEMA rated motor, the same size?
Probably. I think that's where.
They got magic in
That
those.
one's gonna be tough to get
Yeah, you know.
at this rate.
Yeah.
raise the blades and keep the friction away? Is that what you mean?
No,
Now to 1 1/4.
where the blade's just coming through, you've got a lot more teeth engaged in the cut. As you raise it, it's cutting closer to straight down.
I got you.
You have less teeth engaged in the cut.
I'm sure you get rid of more than
You have
dust.
to watch out for your.
After a certain point, it cuts through your rib straight.
That's what I did.
Three-quarters of the next one, right?
Yes.
Need your outriggers.
Yeah, that's what it said.
One or the other. There you
Yeah, that's a tough way to make something.
I'm just going to use the outfeed table to go ahead and show you how you do the glue up on it, or one method of doing the glue up. This gives you your basic pattern of how you're going to end up with it. And to make sure it was flat all the way, we're putting them together here.
George, that's just what to do with that.
I want to see that other one. Give me that other one.
I'm running off my clamps here.
That's what's kind of, oh. It's kind of way more. What is it?
That's Jatuba.
How do you spell that? J-A-T.
I spelled Brazilian cherry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people over the cooking show, you know. right?
Yeah, that's it. The other two clamps are over there when we do the other part. We don't even know.
Okay.
Get the aluminum.
Hardwoods Incorporated. No, Metal Supermarket.
Yeah.
Aluminum. No, it's down by Pleasantdale.
Yeah, 85.
It's square tube.
Yeah. They've got offcuts of all kinds of material down there. Yeah, if if you're looking for just some little bit of metal, their offcuts are quite a good bargain.
Well, that isn't gonna work. Well, the idea is you use a long clamp, but we actually cut these boards a little longer than what this clamp does. But what you do when you put these together like here and tighten them up on each side, you can work it back and forth. The only reason I was using these boards was in the process, I could put them on there with a clamp to hold the ends straight so you don't have to trim those up afterward.
That little look like it's bending on you, Rob, did it?
I don't think so.
I can't see how it's bending that. From here, it looks like it took, doesn't it?
It might.
You guys are making hard work out of this. It'd be a lot faster if you left it in links, joint one face, glue them up, then plane top and bottom, and then cut a cross cut, rather than all this, whack out 3 or 4 at a time.
Yeah.
Well, now that I got them cut up to use links, I'm not gonna do that.
There's a number of different ways to skin the cat.
Anyway, all we did was on here is, like I said, the other ones were a little shorter. I put them there just to hold it together while it was clamping this one on, and then put them in there. However you want to dry it or glue it, just so it's got some pressure on it. I think you're gonna be fine anyway. But when you get done with this, you're gonna end up with a, here's Vanna. Okay? And Bob is going to show you how we cut that up for the next stage. Let this glue, I put them on and let them glue overnight. And some of them I had like 7 of them I was doing. I put them on there, left it on for about 3 hours, I took it out of the clamps, and then it was fine. So you don't have to let it set a certain amount of time.
Bob, did you see the chip on the bottom?
Type on 2.
See the chip on the right end?
Yeah.
Okay.
Type on 2.
Yeah, it's not gonna affect anything. It's diametrically opposed to the one chip on the other end.
I didn't see that.
Put them on the
So
bottom.
1 1/4.
1 1/4.
Now this is the part that I use the other push stick rather than the gripper.
You decide how big you want it.
When you glue it up, it's really worth it to try and get as much excess glue off that you can at the time, rather than trying to scrape it off later, which is heartbreaking for me to have to take all the glue off after I put so much on all the time. I get accused of that.
The only guy I've ever met that buys, glue like a gallon a month.
Actually, I do not go through that fast.
No.
I buy it by the gallon, but I've never had a whole gallon. I've used up the gallon. I've never had it dry out where the parts on the bottom I couldn't use.
point that Rob went to cut what Rob handed him that was glued up, and Rob said make sure you clean it off while it's still wet if you can to make life easier. You can still run it through a planer because you're still running a long grain. Up until now, everything has been running long grain. So it's not been an end grain cutting board yet.
Question. Before you cross-cut for this that you just did, does it matter if you mark the upside or downside for orientation when you turn it, rotate it 90 degrees for the last glue up?
You'll pick the grain when you go to the end grain because of the curves. I didn't do it on the first several that I made till one of my two friends named Bob said, I noticed you didn't orient the end grain. So then I started doing it now, and it makes a difference.
Okay. Before you made that cut that we did there, that's where you want to make your decision on how thick you want to make your cutting board. Okay, the one that Ron has got there that's so thick and nice, you know, you cut it different than here. Now, if I'm going to do some, I want to do some thicker ones, and I'm going to do them later. Instead of starting off with your board at 17 inches, you could start with 22, 24, or whatever you want, you know, for a longer board. And then when you make the cut on there, this is a cut at 1 1/4 inches. And I'll show you why you'll see the difference on there. But if you cut these at 2 inches instead, you'll have a 2-inch cutting board. Okay, so what you're going to do, the first thing, we're going to turn every other one around here. And that gives you your pattern that you want. First time I did that at the house, I go, oh! You know, it was, but this is still side grain. Okay, now the reason you want to make it longer pieces on your cut, so when you cut it, you have like a 2 inches. Each one you turn, because when you turn like that, you're 1 1/4. You know, that's the 1 1/4 you cut. So if you cut it to 2 inches, you have it, you know, 2 inches high instead of the 1 1/4. So you just take each one, and you can see where we got the end grain out here. And by the time you put it together, you got an end grain cutting board. And like I said, it's self-healing. If you think of, you've got a bundle of straws, and if you cut it like on the, you know, on here, you got a bundle of straws and you're cutting across here, you're gonna cut the whole of the straws in half. If you put it on the end, you cut, it's just gonna go open to where the open parts are at, and then go back together.
Same example. You know, there's the end grain cutting board. There's the long grain cutting board. I don't know who owns this brush, but I know you don't want to see me cut anything this way. So you wouldn't have minded that way.
In use, I don't think, if you make it like Ron's, which gets the place of honor and display in the dining room, is one thing. For working cutting boards, the side grain, yeah. And I've only, that one with the curves on it, went on the wall, and I gave my mother one, and she put it on the wall. Other than that, all of mine have been put in use. And
Aren't most commercial ones that you buy that are wood, aren't they long grain?
Usually.
Yes.
You cut them and they're cut, that's okay.
The other
That's the way
thing,
they do it.
you make one and it looks beautiful and it's 3 inches thick. Mine you can pick up with one hand and store with the cookie tins, cookie sheets.
Yeah.
That, a woman, it's, you know, it's something to pick up and where you're going to store it. So the thinner ones do have some advantages.
Yeah.
The thicker ones, you have to take a router and cut finger grooves in because you can't get it up.
Well, that's still coming.
Or, I know, or in my case, to me, a router is a portable tool. It's not a stationary. I don't happen to know it's on a router table. So I made legs. But you can't make it up.
You had mentioned about oriented growth rate.
See the curve here?
Right.
If it makes a difference, if your friend calls it to your attention, and then you can stop and orient it. But just as Rob was laying them out, Now's the time before he loses. Do I like this one better than this? Do I like this one better? The same as you would have done anyway. And then you're going to decide, is there an up or there's a down? Like I said to Bob originally, hey, the corner's next to the other end somewhere.
I had it in the box.
What you looking for?
Double stick tape.
I didn't see any in the box, sir. I didn't take any out of the box.
Maybe I didn't have them. I had some.
They sell it, here.
Yep.
At a discount.
Do you need a roll?
I don't know.
We might have some in the cabinet back there. I can't imagine we don't have the Turner's tape back there.
I know Dave well.
He's coming.
Who's that?
He's coming with double stick.
Oh, okay, cool.
I need another roll anyway.
Yeah.
If my shop was that size, I could find mine too.
I have a drawer just for tape.
I
So.
do too, but my kid and my wife know where that drawer is.
Yeah. Tell you what, I'll just go put mine.
Oh, yeah, right.
If I use about half of this instead though, just have two pieces,
So they can find it today.
Right.
because it won't. That was lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Alright.
And what we're about to do here is I made this this template for the finger holes. I guess what we need to do now is make a decision as to which side is going to be the top.
That'll
take
pretty
the-
clean. I don't think it makes a difference.
I think this side looks a little prettier for a top. We're going to do the finger holes on the underside. I made up this template for the finger holes so that the bearing guided bit will ride against this edge here just to create a decorative little finger hole. And while you can clamp this thing and hold it down, I have had far too many occasions where the template will wind up sliding about partway through the cut. So what I like to do is put a little bit of double stick tape on there to help me keep it from sliding. Okay, I can put the template down there. Rely on the double stick tape to hold it in place while I clamp it. Put one right there. Move it around over. Code bit.
One of the main reasons for that handle, which I've got them at home, regular boards like that doesn't have a handle on it, it's no problem. This one with that type of wood that was so heavy, you really have a hard time lifting it up
Want me
there.
ready to plug it in?
Yep.
It's gonna be tough. I'll bring it this way. I think you should have, you got enough.
Yeah, now he's all right.
There we go. Head down.
Couldn't see quite well enough.
You know, on the last one, we brought it out about 6 inches, the whole board.
Yep.
That way you could clamp to the back. This board is really, really heavy. And once you've got it oiled up and stuff, and then even dried out, if you just try and pick it up with the fingers, you'll have a hard time without slipping it off the shelf and lifting it up. We're having a finger grip, so you just barely put your fingers there, you can lift it up really easy. You know, some of the other ones I made out of like walnut and maple, it wasn't bad, but this Jatoba was really pretty heavy to lift up just with your fingertips. Pretty good.
Nice under
Like,
the router.
Nice
Under the router. Under the router.
Oh, under the router. Okay, there we go.
We got a whole roll of tape, we're reusing it. Can you imagine it?
Force of habit.
I'll tell you what.
Okay.
We might need to. Put it out like that.
Oh, yeah, that'll work.
That's what we did earlier,
Yeah.
the other day. We moved a little bit, so.
Yeah, so
And we're pretty good. I think we're good.
Trying to save time and trying to save money.
Bob, as an alternative to the double stick tape, you can put some adhesive back sandpaper on the underside of your sled.
Oh, PSA, yeah.
And it won't go anywhere.
That's a good idea.
Use a groove, you could pick it up easily from either side.
Yeah, if you didn't do it on the end, I thought you were gonna do it in the middle.
Oh, like this?
No,
Oh,
like a cove.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah.
You can pick it up that way, but if you reverse it, you don't have any lifting capability.
Yeah. This just makes it you can put your fingers on and lift it up real easy. You're trying to lift it up like this, especially if you make a thicker one. Oh, sorry. If you make a thicker one, it's not that hard.
Chamfer the corners, and it works either way.
set this one up. You wanna do that now?
Yeah. I'm not sure how we can,
Look around everyone you.
They were sitting there waiting. Got a router mat?
He was eating.
do we have a router man? No, we can. Let's just do, like 2 sides at a time out.
Which cord? Is that the right
That's
one?
it, that's it.
Okay, is it off?
Yes.
Come on, do you want to handle the other router? And then you won't have to worry about it.
Is that enough? Well, you can just do that side and I'll move it.
Yeah, that's right.
It'll work.
I'll do these 2 and I'll move it that way.
Surprisingly small.
Okay. This process is a lot easier on the router table itself. You set it up and then what we did the other day, we had it set up, he did, you know, the top, the bottom, and then he held it on the corners to get the corners, and it's a whole lot easier to do around. Now you can do this, you just won't break the edge. You can take sand, all he's gonna do is a quarter round over bit just around the corners. You can do it with sandpaper just as long as you don't have a sharp edge. It's,
Say again?
Is it a round over or?
It's a round over, yes.
I've got some, I've never used it anymore.
But it still keeps it from going.
Yeah, I think I've got 2 cents of those.
You get it, you want it?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
After the payment. But you had it out. Those giveaways.
Yeah, I should say, we could do the other side at home, but we might as well go ahead and do it while we're here.
We've got time.
That's probably gonna be too short.
There's some tape remnants there. Beginning to like Bob's suggestion there about the PSA.
I'm gonna try that, that's good.
How do what now?
Other than not having one here, I would, with me, I would run it through the router table.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I was saying. It's
At Rob's shop, that's what we did.
Okay.
But since we don't have
I
a,
didn't know if there was some reason.
no, we just don't have a router table here.
Not very often. Once in a while. For temporary.
Well, it's easier all the way around the router table, especially when we got the corners. You know, we just held it sideways after we did the rest.
And to prove that we learn stuff from one another, this technique that I showed you here was a bit I picked up from Gary Dean there. You know, why change router bits? Just buy another router.
I'm good with that. Okay. Except for the finish itself, then there's a whole range of whatever you want to put on it. You know, pretty much there's a lot of oils that you put on. If you put any type of vegetable oil on or something like that, eventually it can become rancid on you. So I use regular mineral oil.
My mineral oil just says mineral oil, his says lubricant laxative. So hold your thumb.
Well, I was going to show you that on purpose because when you go to find this, I walked around Walmart for about a half hour in the parts like the paint and all that stuff. Where is mineral oil? And they said in the pharmacy. I'm like, what is it doing in the pharmacy? Then you see the lubricant laxative. But it does a great job and it won't turn rancid on you. On that Purple Heart one, day before yesterday, I put one coat on and waited about 2 hours, and I came over and put one more coat on top of that, make sure it's soaked in, and it just looks perfect. That Purple Heart really looked pretty bland. You know, if you saw the stuff from Hardwoods Incorporated when you got it, it was just light and dark, but by the time you put the oil on, it looked beautiful. So.
You had a question about it?
Well, bottle that size will probably last a long time, but if you need it in quantity, go to somebody like Tractor Supply or your local feed store. You can buy it in gallons a whole lot cheaper as a feed supplement.
Yeah, I don't remember what these were, but it seems to me like it was only like $1 something a bottle, and it doesn't last. You use up a lot when you do this. Let's put it that way. And I probably used up a quarter of the bottle on that one there. But if you've got like 7 of them, like we just cut out here, you know, it's going to take me a while to use them up. But either way, you know, for $1 something a bottle, I'm good. I'll look at Tractor Supply though. Having a gallon of it Maybe it doesn't,
Feed supplement's a little lighter viscosity too.
does it say lubricant laxative on it?
No.
Okay, just checking.
When I give a cutting board as a gift, I have a little sheet I made up for care. And I tell them there to make sure they use mineral oil. And the rule was, put a coat on every day for a week. Then put a coat on once a week for a month. Then after that, once a month, forever.
Got a question, Hans?
No, I mean, the Turners may know more, but when, I'm gonna say, but I'm saying, I use that on my puzzles from the standpoint of being child safe, but the only difference is mine's half mineral oil, half beeswax. And so it gives, it allows me to apply it like a Simonite, you know what I'm saying? And it still goes in and stays on the thing and does it. I don't.
What do you think you're gaining from the wax?
That's a finish that Turners use, the mineral oil and the beeswax.
Yeah, what do you think you're gaining from the wax additive?
I'm getting some shine, and it seems to, instead of being so, instead of so liquidy, it's now becomes more of a paste, like wax.
On the surface.
Yeah.
It'll repel water and it won't absorb dirt as badly.
And you think it'll suck back up into the food?
No, beeswax.
What? Beeswax?
Beeswax is beeswax. That's why I use it.
I've used, grind up, slice up beeswax and dissolve it in turpentine as a cleaner and polish on wooden hand planes, restoring old ones.
The stuff that you use, are you heating that up to melt the beeswax?
Yeah.
I was told once that you put the beeswax in together with oil and stuff like that, it doesn't solidify again. So once you put it in there,
it solidifies. It, like I said, I take a bottle of the mineral oil and put it in a saucepan, and then do a liberal using a cheese grater, and I grade the beeswax up, and then just gradually heat the mineral oil up, and then gradually put it in. Now you can do it two ways. You can leave it there on the stove, pull it off the blade, and leave it there overnight. Or if you want to do it quicker, you can take it and put it in your ice box, in the ice box, and it solidifies. Just it ends up being like the consistency of a Simonizer or paste.
okay.
Or you go to Home Depot and buy it, it's on the shelf.
Oh, with two together. I'll have to check that one out.
Brand new Howard's and stuff.
Oh,
Didn't know they carried it.
What Hans is talking about, there's a video on Toy Maker Press on how to make that formula how to rub it out on toys and whatever. Toymakerpress.com.
Yeah, I've seen that one too.
What about the salad bowl stuff they have on it?
There is a sellable finish, but I don't know. It may be about the same thing.
I'll bet this is cheaper.
Salad bowl finishes.
I mean, you're buying it at the pharmacy or at the feed store, you know.
But Valen's is a film finish, Valen's salad bowl finish. So as a cutting board, you're going to be cutting through, in effect, film. It's not going to look that great.
Yeah. Well, that's why I kind of like the idea of doing it as a oil, because somebody was asking the other day, we were talking about putting a varnish or something on it, but varnish hardens and will crack once you put a slice in it. So I was figuring I'm just going to stick with this. I'll look for a cheaper place to get it, so I'll check out the Tractor Supply.
The homeowner can refresh it.
Easy.
Plus, this doubles as a lubricant if you need it.
eBay's got it.
We did bring this in as a laminate trimmer that we were going to put the quarter bit in there, the quarter round bit, but instead we decided just bring two routers, so we do that. But if you don't have the router and you want to clean up your edges like that, you can go ahead and use that for the quarter round. I don't think I'd use it for the handles to route that out because we had a thicker, bigger bit for that. A lot of these things you can modify to whatever you want. Like I said, if you want to make it thicker, instead of cutting your thicker cutting board, instead of cutting it to 1 1/4 inch, it's going to be whatever you cut it and turn it is going to be your thickness of your board. So if you want to cut it to 1.5 or 2 inches or more, like the one Ron did, I think that looks so much like a regular, butcher block board, except for it's never going to get used.
This one, I think over here, instead of going all the way, if you had done that in the middle, then you could have basically 2 boards. I mean, if it's not being a something to look at and it's a functional board, then if you had your handholds in the middle versus on the edge, then you could use it both ways.
You could also, and that's not what I thought you were saying until now, and I heard it 3 times.
I'm sorry.
And it finally sunk in. By the same token, those handles are on the bottom edge on the short end. I'm trying to describe it. They could be on the upper surface, on the long end, on the other side. So you could still flip it and use it either way. And earlier, before this, I saw somebody who showed me how to do finger grips, and it's the crudest thing I've ever seen, and I don't know what to say, with a biscuit joiner. And I said, you gotta be kidding me. You know, here's your half curve, and then we'll lower it a little bit, here's a half curve, and then we'll raise it a little bit, here's a half curve. And that's what it looks like. It looks like you did it with a biscuit joiner.
I guess you could experiment and do what you want with any of it. I like the idea of having a handhold on that, but if you want, just don't put anything on it. And if both surface top and bottom look equally as well, you know, you can do whatever you want with it. You know, just use both.
Still goes quicker than my legs.
Yeah.
If you don't have or don't want to use a router, you can go back to the table saw, cut a 45-degree chamfer on.
Yeah, and then just lift the whole thing up.
And it's completely reversible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Where are you going to put the apple on this one?
That's Bob's doing.
That's Bob's specialty. You can't use that. That's trademarked.
Yeah, proprietary apple.
Proprietary.
One of the things that we skipped over that I want to make sure that we cover, Rob was covering about what we do with the cutting board in this state. When you get that thing glued together, unless you're a whole lot better than I am, you're going to wind up with minor irregularities in the surface. You can catch a fingernail on that surface. That's going to be less than desirable for the end product. So you're faced with how to get that thing flat and level. There's a whole host of ways that you could do that. The one that I wanted to caution you against is the temptation to put that thing through a planer. For those who haven't had experience with that, it is just god-awful loud, and you wind up having to take your planer apart. Because what will wind up happening is this thing is, for all intents and purposes, a hand grenade when you stick it inside a planer. It will explode all over the inside of your planer. What I do instead, because of the fact that I went and got one of these things doing various types of flat work, is these make a fantastic, flattening device, especially when you don't want to stand there and wear yourself out with a planer or some other type of power tool. You just take gradual cuts on this until you get the surface looking the way you want. Those, what if you don't have one of those? We'll let the front row here judge on that one. That, don't do that. That surface is probably about as flat as you're going to get it.
That's only been through my drum sander. There's still plenty of hours with a random orbital to do on that. I just brought it in because I said I have one in this stage and maybe we can bring it into the...
What kind of glue do you use on?
I use 3, they use 2.
Use what?
Type on 2 or 3.
Type on 2 or 3.
So wait, I'm misunderstanding. You're saying you run it through that sander and then a random
orbital,
on
yeah.
top of that?
Oh yeah, the finish that's on my footstool over there, is like glass, and you didn't do that with us.
He could, I guess he could if he continually changed the belts. I mean,
what a siege that is for me.
Do a good job.
I don't do a good job changing belts.
oh no, but I'm just saying you could, but I'm saying that's the other reason. Could you also do this, with our class, what was it, about 4 weeks ago? Scraper?
Some people could.
Well, the first thing we did after it was glued up, it had so much glue on it, we did use scrapers. I take all the glue as much as I can get it off using scrapers first, and then we run it through the sander. With, you know, those belts are like $16 each, you know, on that thing. And I went through 2 in one day, so I figured it's better off to.
2 in one day.
Yeah. But also, Peachtree does sell the material for the belt as a bulk, that you can get like 3 pieces out of the roll of sandpaper for, you know,
Significantly less.
well, I just bought 2 rolls today. It's $16 and something for the roll, which is enough to do 3 of the strips that go on the oscillating sander.
Ron, on your Randall orbital sander, what type of sandpaper did you use? The Merkin or the?
Up to 400.
Merkin?
I said, this thing depends on how much of a beating I feel like taking in wrapping it and hooking it on. I don't fare well changing belts on there. And the random orbital, I stopped at 400. You know, that's the only time we'll say, well, God, it is a cutting board, until you try and cut on it, and then of course I won't say that. But
Do you, in between those, on the orbital, do you raise the grain at all? I mean, just to make sure that it's raised? Okay.
I don't have enough sense to.
On that one that's a Purple Heart over there, I only sanded that with 150.
I don't think you can raise it.
You know, I figured I didn't need to get it that smooth for something to go cutting it up, you know.
I got a suggestion for you guys that make these really fancy cutting boards.
Yeah.
You refer to them as butcher block, but you're missing a step that I think you should consider adding.
Aren't you the guy that told me to orient the end grain to a curve?
I owned one real meat block. It came out of CNS stores, so if you folks have been here a while, you might remember that. It was about 14 inches deep, and what it had was in one direction, your strips were joined with dovetails.
Oh, you're right.
Running
You haven't
dovetails.
seen that.
So that would be a neat feature to add.
And you're just going to tap them in, right?
Yeah,
Why only one direction?
that's the way it came.
I think it'd be like one of those pictures in one of those, that book you just did.
That sounds like a puzzle that you
It'd
would
be butterfly pattern.
So, Bobby, you saying the strips going up, and how did they use the dovetails? What part?
Sliding dovetail.
They
Sliding
slide
Sliding
like
dovetail.
this to slide the pieces together.
And you'd have a dovetail, just, you know, they did them in strips.
Yeah.
And you guys really ought to bring this stuff over to my shop to use my bandsaw, because it came out of Georgia Maple Block Company down in Griffin. It was a block manufacturer.
Don Bedell, you had a question?
Yeah, I did have a question. When I used to make these, I would take a router and route on 3 sides like a square U, a place for juices and stuff to drip in. One side was not, so they could just scrape it off. On an end cut, I made it a template to just run the router around so it'd be perfect. Would that work as well on an end cut, or would it tear up?
I don't know. You were making them on long grain.
Huh?
You were making it the long grain way, and if I think of all the well and tree platters we've had at home over the years, you know, for turkeys, they're always long grain.
Right.
I don't know what would happen if you tried to do a well and
Let's
tree.
experiment on that tabletop one or the.
Yeah, we can try it on a footstool.
You can see it.
I mean, we've got the router bit in there.
I'd rather not.
Just freehand. Just freehand. Just freehand.
Now, you know, I had a neighbor ask me about making a router table. I thought, was somebody else talking?
Yeah.
Can we have one meeting, please? There.
No, I didn't.
I'll try that, then tell you guys how it turned out.
Yeah, do that.
No, I'll do it with one of the boards here. I was really curious because I like to see what it does so it's not ripping out or anything like that. I have a neighbor across the street that came over last night that's going to watch my dog when I'm gone next week. And she was asking about cutting boards. And she was wanting one that was a little larger than what we made here, and also one that has that little groove around it for the juice and stuff. So I'll go ahead and do that on one just to see what it was and let you guys know.
If we go real slow.
Well, or they all just give her a roll of paper towels to mop up the counter.
Well, I was thinking if you set it up on your router table and you do a lighter pass, maybe do one and then another one, you know, because you don't have to go that deep. You know, you're only going about maybe a 1/4 inch deep at the most. So I'll experiment with it.
And you could just put a stopper, and you could just do a square juice thing.
I'll try that.
You know, I haven't done it the same reason I didn't have end grooves in that. You know how many hours I have in that? And then somebody says, why don't you take a router?
And you got a handy inside.
Yeah, and then you stop and think, nah, I'll screw handles on before I'll do that.
I do like the legs that he put on. I've got some, looks sort of like a rubber grommet with a screw on the end that you could take and tighten that up. You know, you have a screw with a washer and a rubber grommet to hold it in place. If you want to put something like that. The one I've got on my table in, up on my countertop was just a regular wood one, and it has rubber pieces on the bottom that after a while move around on you. So,
The glue ones?
yeah, the glue one.
Yeah, they don't help.
Bob, you gonna use rubber on it? Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, you could probably, we could check and see if that wood was good with
What
this
is going
saw.
on here?
We could cut it in half and we have two.
Hey, Rob, you could put those things that he's got on the bottom of his feet, on the bottom, those that are nailed in,
Yeah.
you could put those in there, that'll keep it up.
Yeah, anything like that. I kind of like to have something so it's not sitting.
The legs were turned with the pommel so that it was a knockoff on the old original butcher block like Bob Black's talking about. All right, so we got that much. Now I've got a round thing there. Well, we can't use that. I hunted all over. Those are rubber and the screw is recessed. Home Depot has them. I went everywhere. And they come in brown and in beige. So if you ever, and they come in different diameters. Those are great. I bought a bunch of them.